Hello, hello, welcome back to another design roast where I review the banners and designs I find across the internet. This episode is again going to be based around Discord just because that's the easiest location for me to find these designs. But again, in the future, I'm going to be broadening my horizons and throwing in a few designs from sites such as Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube, so on and so forth. The point of this is to both critique designs, offer suggestions, and changes that could be made to improve it, comment on designs I think that are done really well, and just have a fun time looking at some of the stuff people are using. If you want me to review a design, please join my Discord server, discord.gg/tsukei, Tsukei. Go to the media channel, upload your design, and in the text field, type please review so I can find it with a Discord search. Other than that, let's jump right into this. So the first design I want to look at is this right here, and just plain text as a banner is something I've seen quite a lot. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of it because it's just so basic, I suppose. Yeah, it gets the job done, but it doesn't allow you to really express your community all that much. I suppose with different font styles and colors, you could certainly work towards something that's a little more unique and expressive, but at the end of the day, I think an actual banner where you can customize to your heart's desire is still the way to go. But putting that aside, I think this one actually did a pretty nice job with the organization. So they have just the text, of course, but they have some stuff in the backgrounds that helps accentuate the area just a little bit more. Now, in just this format, it does look a little odd, though as you saw on screen a few moments ago, it does look actually pretty nice when you put it in a server. So if you are gonna go the text routes, this is a good example of how to do so. Next, this design, I like it. I think they took some inspiration from one of my tutorials with the waves and the way it is organized, but I'm a little confused in some parts as to how they did things. So if we zoom in on this edge here, you'll notice there's a bump down here at the bottom and a bump at the top. Let me try to highlight that with you. Let me go to my pencil and let me grab maybe blue. So you see here a bump and down here a bump. And what I think they did is they made a rectangle, then they made a circle, and they try to move that circle into the rectangle, and I just don't know why you'd want to do that. It doesn't make much sense to me. If you had an older version of Photoshop, I guess, but it have to be really old because even CS6, which is the pirated one going around, it had this same feature I'm about to show you. So let's go to our rectangle tool. Let's just drop this puppet down. There we go. And we can curve as much as we desire. And wait a second, this left side is now curved, so we want it completely straight. Oh, do not fear. We can drag it out, then right click, rasterize layer style, and Control J, chippity choppity. But then you might ask, hey, they have the corner curved on theirs, but this one is just a completely straight line now. Well, there might be a better way to do this, but it will involve sort of the same technique employed here with the circle, but it is much cleaner. Let's go back, get our shape. I'm gonna do a cut here. Let's rasterize their style, and then I'm going to cut that out. Now we're gonna go return to this one. Let's drag it back. Make sure we have it at the correct sizing. Let's actually drag this forward because it is unneeded. And let's bring it up here, though I think that's a stroke, so I'm just going to bring it to the red. Then the curve, I'm going to drop that all the way back down to here. And wow, completely straight across the top. There's no bumps, it lines up perfectly. So again, just a quick lesson that there is no reason at all for you to make two separate shapes, though I guess I'm a little bit of a, what's the term? I guess I'm being ironic because I made two separate shapes myself, but it's all in the rectangle space if you're going for a rounded rectangle ends, and there is no reason to make a circle, then a rectangle, and then combine the two, because it's going to result in mistakes. Because even myself, if I ever try to combine a circle and a rectangle for some other project, it takes so much work to line it up properly, and I think it's just not worth the effort when you can do this instead, and it is so much simpler. Next thing I'll comment on, and again, I really like the overall design of this banner. There's just a couple little things I'm nitpicking at that are so simple to correct. It's not going to be much of an issue. The model, I would chalk this up to a bad render that you grabbed, because typically I only see these jagged edges on a render that wasn't actually rendered properly. The person who rendered it didn't do so in a clean fashion, so when you go to add a stroke, it goes off of their mistakes and adds all these jagged lines everywhere. So just be careful with the model you pick. This drop shadow, I probably would not use a solid black drop shadow on a model who has darker hair, because it really just starts to blend together here, and especially I guess with the black backgrounds, it just sort of blends together. If it was more of a traditional drop shadow, it would help highlight it, but it wouldn't really be so strong and even blend in some parts. And I guess my final two notes would be the same thing for these drop shadows. I wouldn't have them as solid dark, and I guess your clipping here, this looks a little off, however they decided to clip it. So the best way to clip stuff is to just make a shape like this, drop it down, and then you want to add a stroke. Sure, you can add a stroke to it. Let's add a white stroke. I'm going to leave it at whatever default I had from before. And then we're just going to right click, create clipping mask, and there should be no cuts outside of it. See, nothing goes outside of my center shape, nothing going into the white space. I'm not really sure how they got that to happen, but there should be no reason for that intruding into the stroke. So that'd just be something to keep an eye out for. And yeah, oh, the font as well. Font, I'd have the letter spaced a bit more, just because here, I mean, I guess it's fine, but it looks really compact and it's so tiny. You have all this empty space. I'll increase the size a bit and increase the spacing just a tad. This one, why are you using a wallpaper as a banner? I mean, wallpapers and banners are two separate things entirely. So the quick way to fix this into a banner, and again, I know my quick response is to draw a rectangle, and that really isn't the best example, because there are so many different ways you could make a banner. But again, I'm defaulting to a rectangle because it is the simplest way to do so. There we go, that is already better in my opinion. And if you add a stroke, it will help it really fit the space so much nicer and help accentuate whatever text that you have. As it is now, it's just a wallpaper, and I don't really understand how this took off. I mean, there are so many ways you can design a banner to help accentuate certain details. If you have a background, you can do something like this, where you can still see a large portion of whatever background image you have. You can see the character, you can see the text, or if you don't really want to focus too much on say a scenic anime background or whatever other background you have, you just have text and a character. You can customize those other designs with triangles, with other weird and wacky shapes that, I mean, I guess I'm saying all this, I don't have a good example, but you could do something like, here comes the pencil tool again. I mean, I guess something like this, and then maybe like that. I guess that's kind of weird. Or maybe, just off the top of my head, I'm not really good at coming up with this stuff, but I don't know, if I draw that one, someone's gonna make inappropriate comments in the comment section. But you get the idea. There's different ways you can customize these. I mean, you can always glance at my channel for ideas, but even if you just search up banner designs on the internet, you'll see so many different styles that you can take reference from or get some inspiration from. Anything except a wallpaper. It looks nice, don't get me wrong. I like what they did here, the fade in the backgrounds with a focus on the character, but just don't do it as a wallpaper. This one, I have to be honest, I don't really like it. The text off center, this giant black square, it just doesn't really fit all that well. I mean, I kind of like what they did with the shape here, but without a lot more time to think about it, I cannot come up with a quick suggestion on how to work out this banner. I guess a good way to start would be to take this background and actually add more detail to it. Because you have this really detailed section here with all these sharp shapes. And I think I have an example I can actually pull up real quick. Yep, found the example. Let me just drag that over. So you could do something like this. This is an older tutorial I uploaded, but you could have these sharper shapes. I'm not saying have this one triangle thing on the left side, but these sharper shapes would have really helped this banner really fit together better, because you have all these sharp shapes on the left, and the side you just have a boring old rectangle. So I think if you had that shape kind of like this, let me go a layer below. So you did something like this. You had it coming out like that, dropping down and going over. I think that would have looked great. This character, of course, crop the sides so it fits better. Make sure it does not go over whatever stroke or line you set as the boundary, because again, that's the boundary line. Nothing should go past that. And I think that would have really helped this banner look so much better. Final banner. This one, I actually really like the simplistic take on it. I love whatever pastel rainbow they have up top. The changes I would suggest, maybe have an icon here. Again, this is a stitched kind of a DIY style. So I have maybe a cutesy little icon here, maybe a little pencil that's in a dotted outline to match the rest of it. And this character, again, for the character, when it's actually in use, you can read the text, you can read everything fine, but the character is so small when you actually post it that you can't really see much detail. So maybe here, no, I was gonna say maybe above the stomach, but I would do it again above the chest, cut the character, have him off to the left side, and I wouldn't go so far out to the left. Personally, maybe here, let me get the pencil line out. I'll cut it off about here, have the rest of the character flowing out to the right. The reason is, the more stuff you have outside the center of the banner, the smaller the image is going to upload. So the detailed banner, you're going to see less and less of it. So I'll keep the character, maybe I'll actually rotate them. I'll do a Control T, edit the width to be a minus sign so that it flips the character completely in a mirror like that, mirrors them. So then the hair is flowing out to the right. You have just this little part poking out, and the dress is also blowing out to the right. I think I'm fine with the way they took this drop shadow. They matched it to the text and the stitching. I guess that's fine. It might actually work better than a standard drop shadow would look. This logo, I would probably personally cut it down. So I'll take this. Let's edit that out of here. Probably edit it down to, say, here. I think that's great. And if you're looking to brand something so nobody steals it, putting it in a transparent location where somebody can quickly move it or delete it like I just did, Like how easy it is for me to remove it. If I wanted to steal this banner, they're stolen in 2 seconds. It is now mine, no proof it was ever yours. Not that I would do that, just an example. So if you're going to add a logo with the intent of copyright protection, don't add it in a location that's easy for somebody to remove it. If it's just for aesthetics, then I guess that is fine. Other than that, I really like what they did, and that's a wrap for this video. I hope you enjoyed this little critique. I guess I call it a roast, not so much of a roast, more of a go over and review. But if you liked it, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Other than that, I hope you have an awesome day.